Well, it's now time to bring you the first conversation on the show today, focusing on agriculture. Now, in a bid to solve challenges and bottlenecks in Nigeria's cocoa production industry, the federal government has inaugurated the National Cocoa Management Committee with the sole responsibility of developing strategies mitigating the growth of the sector, ranging from diseases to infrastructure for the industry, and also a strategic plan towards the establishment of the Nigerian Cocoa Board. This development is in line with the present administration's policy on diversification of the Nigerian economy from the oil to the non-oil sector, of which agriculture is playing a major role. Well, joining me now live virtually to discuss this and more, looking at the developments within the cocoa industry, I have Dr. Patrick Adebola, who is an executive director at the Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria. Thank you very much for joining us on the show today, Dr. Adebola.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you, viewers.
Now, starting off our conversation, let's have your take on the federal government's move to constitute this National Cocoa Management Committee with the aim of tackling some of the key challenges, the problems we have in the cocoa sector. What do you make of this move by government at this point in time? And what are some of the challenges you have identified within the sector, observed over the years, that must be attended to as fast as possible as we have this committee set up within the production and process and value chain?
Thank you very much. We are in the era where the cocoa sector is, I can say, on autopilot. There is no regulation, there is no body, a single regulatory body that regulates the activities in the cocoa sector, starting from production to processing and all others, and marketing. So it is coming at the right time. The federal government are coming at the right time to intervene, to ensure that there is a regulatory body to control what is happening in the cocoa sector. Because of this non-availability of a single regulatory body, you see a lot of things happening in the cocoa sector, ranging from the low yield in the cocoa farms to very small amount of money being getting eventually to the producers themselves, the farmers. Ranging to the use of agrochemicals, different types of agrochemicals in the cocoa sector. And the result of this is that you see most of our cocoa beans being rejected in the international market because of the accumulation of pesticides. Pesticide accumulation above the residual pesticides limit allowed by the international community. I think it's coming at the right direction, the right time, and in the right direction. The government, through the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Dr. Mohammed Abubakar, coming at the right time to set up this cocoa management committee to be in charge of regulating the affairs in the cocoa sector. This is not happening in other countries. We know what is happening in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, which are the largest producers of cocoa in the world. Both of them produce about 60% of the world cocoa. The government of Ghana is making about $2 billion every year on the cocoa because the sector is well regulated. Same thing in Cote d'Ivoire. So what is wrong with Nigeria having a regulatory body to control the activities of the major stakeholders in the cocoa industry? So to me, it's a step in the right direction and it's coming at the right time. Thank you.
And I like the fact that you're starting off this conversation with an analysis of what plays out in the likes of countries like Ghana and then also Cote d'Ivoire. But now, with the federal government in partnership with the Cocoa Farmers Association here, also commencing move to attract about $400 on the cost of every ton of cocoa exported from Nigeria. How optimistic are you that we can really achieve this volume and expand our export base beyond this current annual 340,000 tons of cocoa we record here? Because really now, when we do this calculation, this would mean that Nigeria would earn about an additional $136 million outside the actual cost of the commodity once it perfects the process required to achieve this. In terms of putting in structure, how optimistic are you that we can have this peg of about $400 on every cost of a ton of cocoa that will be exported out of the country?
Yeah, thank you very much. It is. I'm very, very optimistic that our farmers will be able to earn more from the cocoa they produce. The $400 premium on top of every ton of cocoa produced is a welcome development. This is what we call the LID, which is living inferential difference of a cocoa, living income difference, which is being applicable to Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana. This money goes directly to the farmers. The money is not coming to the federal government, it's going directly to the farmers. And when it goes directly to the farmers, it means we have been able to increase the income of the farmers from the cocoa they produce. But there are certain criteria that Nigeria must put in place before this LID can be paid. And one of them is to have a regulatory body. As it is now, Nigeria did not have any regulatory body in the cocoa sector. So that is why I said earlier on that the step the federal government has taken is in the right direction. First, we'll have a regulatory body. And once this regulatory body is in place and is functional, then it means we have fulfilled one of the conditions for our farmers to be able to earn that income of $400 per ton of cocoa produced. So I am very, very optimistic. Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana are already enjoying it. And the federal government, around May this year, sent a delegation to Ghana to go and understudy what is happening and how are they implementing the LID scheme. And we came back with, I'm one of the delegates that went to Ghana, and we came back with a lot of information. And based on this, the federal government deemed it fit to set up the National Cocoa Management Committee, which is the first step in making sure that our farmers will be able to enjoy that $400 premium in every ton of cocoa. So I'm very, very optimistic.
I definitely share your optimism as well, but sometimes the solution to these age-long problems we have here in the country isn't as simple as it sounds at first hand. But now, looking more around processing and improvements within the logistics value chain in the cocoa industry here in the country now, how intrinsic would you say or describe these to position Nigeria? You talked about regulatory oversight here, but in terms of logistics and also looking at the improvement in our processing, how do we now begin to set these pillars right to position Nigeria in an enviable position? Many cocoa processing factories in the country are not functional or even produce below capacity. We look at the reality here. About 90% of the nation's cocoa beans are exported, while just about 10% are processed locally. What are your thoughts on these elements you are playing with and building structure much more strategically?
Thank you very much. As like you have rightly said, only 10% of the cocoa produced in Nigeria is being processed locally. And this is really, really not where we should be. For when you take 1 kilogram of cocoa and you price is about maybe $2 or less than $2. But when you add value to it and you process it into cocoa butter, the value increased to about $7. When you now even go further to process it into chocolate, the value increased to about $15. So you can see what Nigeria is losing by not adding value to the raw beans that we are exporting. But I think the federal government is now taking the bull by the horn, and we are now ready to make sure that we encourage our industries, the cocoa processing industry, to be up and running again. We know there are a lot of challenges that are involved, but the government is now ready to support the industry and to make sure that all these local industry processing cocoa will now be up and running. we are targeting by the year 2025 that at least 50% of what we are producing will be processed locally rather than exporting the raw beans. So yes, I'm also very optimistic that with the putting up together of this cocoa management committee by the federal government, I believe all these challenges will be addressed by the committee. For now, there is no regulatory body, there is no body that is looking in a holistic manner of the problems in the cocoa industry. So I think it is in the right direction.
And then, Dr. Adebola, we also have to face the reality, growing insecurity here in Nigeria. That's also taking farmers away from the farms. Our food hubs are already threatened. And now with all these prospects we're churning out, and the forecast and the optimism which you share here will likely be dampened by the fact that we have growing insecurity. How do you think this tilts the balance to a negative swing for us?
Yeah, it is all of us is the concern of everyone, including myself. The farmers are also not left out in the insecurity situation in the country. You can see that the federal government is also trying their best to make sure that the issue of insecurity is properly addressed. Yeah, it is true when farmers can no longer go to their farms, it's very scary. When farmers can no longer attend to their farms as at when due, the resultant thing is that the production will nosedive. And I believe that government is aware, and they are putting in every effort to make sure that we address the security challenges that we currently have in Nigeria. Thank you.
Okay, now let's also look at the fact that we cannot ignore the role of research. As the executive director of the Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria, you're quite familiar with why research is also one of the pillars we have to leverage on, especially when we're looking at climate change and other elements that affect cocoa production, disease control, and a whole lot more. Do you think we will get to that point where our researches translate to implementable, improved cocoa beans, cocoa seed quality, and proper production levels?
Yes, the federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Agric and Rural Development, they are also doing their best in terms of supporting research. Although when we compare the type of support the research here is getting compared to our counterparts in Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, I think we are asking for more support. Right now, the federal government is supporting cocoa farmers, supporting Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria in particular, by the production of, by giving us funds for the production of improved planting materials that we distribute to farmers free of charge. Last year, we produced about 300,000 seedlings, which we distributed free of charge. This year, we are aiming to produce up to 650,000 improved cocoa seedlings, which will also be distributed to farmers through the various cocoa farmers associations. We have the CFAN, we have the FAN, we have the Cocoa Planted Farmers Association. So they all come to us to collect free cocoa seedlings, which they distribute to their members. Apart from the distribution of seedlings, we're looking at the effect of climate change on the production of cocoa. This is really, really very important. If you look at the world production of cocoa, you will see that the cocoa production is mainly concentrated where there is heavy rainfall, where the humidity is very high, and between the temperature range of 21 to 23 degrees centigrade. But with what is happening now in the world, you can see that the rains are no longer as they used to be. It's either they are too much or they are too little. And also in the spread, the distribution of the rainfall is also not as what we expected. So all these have a lot of long-term effects, even short-term effects on the production of cocoa. It affects, for example, the varieties that we are planting in terms of when do they mature, when do we harvest. If the climate change also affects the issue of a harvesting. When there is too much, when you harvest and you want to process your cocoa and there is too much rain and you don't have the sunshine to dry your cocoa beans, the quality will also be very poor. So in terms of the climate change, it affects even up to the planting of the seedlings. If you plant your seedlings and the rain just ceased, then it affects the survival rate and the development of those seedlings. So the Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria is up to the challenge. We are developing varieties that are tolerant to drought and to high temperature. We're also looking at the issue of a reduction of carbon emission, which also leads to devastating effect of climate change. We are encouraging farmers to plant directly without cutting down trees, reducing deforestation. And we are also looking at the area of government supporting us for irrigation to farmers. And all these combined will help the farmers to mitigate against the effect of climate change on their crop.
Okay, now, Dr. Adebola, wrapping up the conversation, let's also have your thoughts and the line of arguments that the Cocoa Research Institute is also bringing to the fore, especially funding for these research and also farmers' accessibility to these funds. What's the latest we're having from your desk?
Thank you very much. We rely mostly on the federal government for funding. And if you look at what is happening in other countries, like let me say Ghana, for example, the Ghana Cocoa Research Institute is strictly under the Cocoa Board of Ghana, and is the level of funding they get, you can't compare it with the level of funding we are getting in Nigeria. That is why this formation of the putting together of this National Cocoa Management Committee is very important. In Ghana, the Cocoa Research Institute is being funded by the Cocoa Board. And you will see lecturers from university, they struggle to move to Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana to work. We can't say the same thing here in Nigeria because of the level of funding that we are having. So the government is trying, but we still need a lot to be able to get to the level we want to get to. So yeah, the issue of funding is a major issue in the research institute, and I will use this opportunity to appeal to all the stakeholders to support us, to also support government in funding research, because the result of the research will be beneficial to all our farmers, all our cocoa farmers. Thank you very much.
And lastly, now, in terms of storage as well, especially for the cocoa beans, what's your word to farmers as well, taking the highest standard of ethics and production exercises and strategies to ensure that the quality of cocoa we have, the quality of beans, and the overall production process is still going on, attaining the highest of standards in production?
Yes, this is also as a result of lack of regulation. You can't see what we are having in Nigeria and the cocoa sector in Ghana and in Cote d'Ivoire, because there is a regulator that regulates the quality of cocoa beans that will be exported. So the issue of no regulatory body is a big issue in the cocoa sector. For now, we are still producing 340,000 tons per year, as compared to a potential figure of about 900,000 tons per year. How do we get there? We need improved planting materials, which Crane on its own part is doing. But now, even if we produce the planting materials, how do we distribute? So that is one other critical issue, challenge that we are facing. We produce the materials, the farmers complain that they don't have the logistic to come and collect those planting materials that we have produced for them. Even if the materials are distributed free, there are still a lot of challenges in terms of distribution. In terms of pesticides and other agrochemicals that are being used, you will find out that in Nigeria, the market is being flooded with every form of agrochemicals, which is not so in other countries that are making it in the cocoa industry. We cannot just leave the situation like this, where anybody can import any agrochemicals and market it to the farmers. There is no regulation. And I think we have to try to stop this. Currently, like I've said, we're in 340,000 tons or thereabout per annum. When we can produce up to about 900,000 tons per annum, if we put in all the necessary steps that will improve the productivity of our cocoa.
Dr. Debola, thank you so much for your time and your contribution on this show. We'll definitely have another session where we are going to be doing another analysis of the constitution of this committee as we are looking at the improvement we expect to see in the production of cocoa and the entire value chain within the industry. We have to continue to checkmate, follow the money, follow the effects of the moves that we are seeing by government to ensure that we have an improved cocoa production base. So we'll definitely have this catch-up conversation in months to come. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.